Gwyn gasped. He sat up, stiff and terrified. He felt for the bedside light and turned it on. Arianwen was sitting on the silver pipe. Gwyn lifted the pipe until it was close to his face. He stared at the spider and the pipe, willing them to work for him. But they did not respond. He laid them carefully on the bedside table and got out of bed. His black watch told him that it was 4 o'clock, not yet dawn. He dressed and opened his top drawer. It was time for the seaweed. Yet he took out Bethan's yellow scarf and, without knowing why, wrapped it slowly around his neck, pressing it to his face as he did so, and inhaling once again the musty, sweet smell of roses. He closed his eyes and for a moment almost thought that he was close to an answer. But he had forgotten the question. It was something his grandmother had said, something about using the scarf. Try as he might to order his mind, he felt the answer and the question slipping from him until he was left with only the tangible effects, the scarf, the dry dusty stick of seaweed. Gwyn tucked the seaweed into his pocket of his anorak and went downstairs, letting himself out of the back door into the yard. There was a pale light in the sky, but the birds were still at rest. The only sounds came from the sheep moving on the hard mountain earth and frosty hedgerows shivering in the cold air. He did not ascend the mountain this time, but wandered northwards through the lower slopes, seeking the breeze that came from the sea. Here the land was steep and barren. There were few sheep, no trees and no farms. Gigantic rocks thrust their way through the earth, and torrents of ice-cold water tumbled over the stones. Gwyn longed for the comfort of a wall to cling to. The wide, dark space of empty land and sky threatened to sweep him away and swallow him. One step missed, he thought he would slip into nowhere. And then he smelt the sea. Moonlight became dawn and colours appeared on the mountain. He was approaching the gentler western slope. He started to climb upwards gradually, field by field, keeping close to the stone wall so that the breeze that now veered into the wailing northeast wind could not confuse his steps. Gwyn had passed the fields and was standing in the centre of a steep stretch of bracken when it happened. When the thing in his pocket began to move and slide through his fingers, causing him to withdraw his hand and regard the soft purple fronds of what had a few moments before been a dried up piece of seaweed. The transformation was unbelievable. Gwyn held the plant out before him, and the slippery petal-like shapes flapped in the wind like a hovering bird, and then it was gone. The wind blew it out of his hand and out to sea, and all the birds above and below him woke and called out. The grey sky was pierced with light, and in the moment Gwyn knew what he had to do. He took off the yellow scarf and flung it out to the sky, calling his sister's name again and again, over the wind, over the brightened land and the upturned faces of startled sheep. Then from the west, where it was still dark, where the water was still black under the heavy clouds, there came a light, tiny at first, but growing as it fell towards the sea. It was a cool light, soft and silver, and it came closer. Gwyn could make out the shape of a billowing sail and the bows of a great ship. But the ship was not upon the sea, it was in the air above it, rising all the time until it was opposite to him and approaching the mountain. A wave of icy cold air suddenly hit Gwyn's body, throwing him back into the bracken, and he lay there shocked and staring upwards. The huge hull of the silver ship passed right over him, and he could see fragments of ice like sparks falling away from it. He could see patterns of flowers and strange creatures engraved in the silver, and then the ice was in his eyes, and he had to close them. And he curled himself into a ball, shaking with pain of bitter cold that enveloped him.